In this lesson, we'll be exploring the fillet command as well as the chamfer command, and we'll also be exploring how to create circles. We're going to do this on temporary geometry, so we'll start by creating a new level and copying geometry to that level. We'll create level 109 and call this temporary geometry. What I'd like to do is take the rectangular shape that we created on level 108 and copy that to 109. So I'll do that by holding down the Shift key and selecting this first line. By holding down the Shift key, that turns on the chaining functionality, and it will actually select this line, and if it sees another line that's connected to it, it'll continue until the entire piece of geometry is selected. Once it's selected, I simply right-click and then go up to the Change Level function. Here I want to copy it to another level, and since my active level is the new level I just created, I'm just going to click OK. Now you'll see that level 109 has 4 entities on it, which is 4 pieces of that rectangle. I'm now going to hide level 108, and I'm also going to hide the part geometry level, which is the chain guard. At this point, let's explore the fillet command. The fillets are available on the wireframe tab, all the way under Modify, and it's called Fillet Entities. As you can see on the left under the Fillet Entities dialog, we can choose the different method for the fillet. We'll first start with normal, and the way this works is you select one entity and then the other, and you'll see the fillet gets created between the two. Let's change this size to something larger so we can see it, like 20. Since this geometry is light blue, it's considered a live entity, which means we can change it at any time, and that value will update until I click either the OK and Create New Operation button or the OK button. Let's change this back to 20. And you'll notice that the 2 lines trimmed to get this fillet. That's because our Trim Entities is turned on. If we turned it off, it would not trim the entity. Let's turn it on, and we'll click OK and Create New Operation. So now this arc is no longer a live entity. Let's fillet this corner here, and you'll see here I'm going to put in a value of 30, and we can explore other methods. For example, inverse, which will give you the inverse of the fillet, or a circle, which creates an entire circle that fits that fillet. You can also do a clearance. We see this often in areas where you need to add space. For example, if you were going to put in a rectangle into this area, you want to add a little bit of clearance to the corner. So right now, if we wanted to add, let's say, 5 millimeters of clearance, that fillet gets a little larger. And then finally, we can choose a relief, which would give you the ability to add a relief to one side of it. Let's go back to normal, and we'll click OK. We also have the Fillet Chains option. And the Fillet Chains option brings up our wireframe chaining menu, where we can actually select geometry and select the entire chain to fillet. When I click OK, it's going to say, okay, the new radius is 5, the existing radius is a different size, and I'm going to change those original fillets. So now they're all the same, and in this case, let's say 25, and now they all become 25. So the Fillet Chains option allows you to select an entire chain and put all the same sized fillets on that chain. While we're here, let's briefly explore the circle mode. The circle tool allows me to create a circle by simply clicking and then placing. And then I can put in whatever value I want here. The radius is 25. Obviously, the diameter changes that to 50. You can also do math in these fields. So for example, if we knew that this was 2 inches, I could type in 2IN. It automatically converts it to millimeters for me. Or I could do something like 25.4 times 2, and that will convert it for me. So you can do math, and you can also add in other values as different units, and it will automatically update. With the circle tool, you can also choose options like tangent. So let's say I wanted to create a circle right here. Now I can select this geometry and notice how it snaps tangent to that, or tangent to that, or tangent to that. There are other tools within the arcs group here, including creating arcs using 3 points, creating arcs that are tangent, creating a circle edge point, and then we have some polar options as well. Just as an example, the arc 3 points option allows you to create 1 point, the next point, and then the next point. And you have tangent options as well, and whether that tangency applies to the first point, the second point, or the third point. When I'm done, I can also use the undo command, and undo allows me to go backwards and get rid of all of my geometry until I was when I started. The last thing we're going to do here is look at chamfer entities. Chamfer works in a similar way to fillet, where you can select the geometry. That's the first one, and that's the second one. And you can see I have a live entity here. My method is one distance. This is basically a 45-degree chamfer. I can type in whatever value I want, and it's an equal chamfer. I can also instead choose 2 distances. The first distance being the first entity I selected, and the second distance being the second entity I selected. In this case, it's a chamfer that's got 25 for the first entity and 5 for the second. Let's do a distance with an angle, and we'll go here to there. So the distance, let's say I want, is 50. And the angle I want is 25. So you can see now the angle is 25 and the distance is 50. We can also do a width. And you'll see that that value there is defined by the width of the chamfer. So let's make this, let's say 50. And now we have a 50 millimeter width here. Throughout the remainder of this course, you'll be using these tools a lot, so you'll definitely get practice using them. This was a brief introduction to them to get you started on the right path.